Hello everyone, this is Devleena welcoming you all to another action-packed episode of Icons Behind Brand video interview series Simplifying MarTech, where we are going to have a conversation with some of the leading figures in the business. And I'm privileged enough to welcome our today's guest, a technology industry leader with a global experience who is in a mission of creating a consent-driven commerce ecosystem for the cookie-less world. Mr. Sudipta Sarkar, who is the co-founder and CEO of Cxsphere. A warm welcome to you, Sudipta.
Thank you, Devleena. Nice coming here and having to speak with you and the audience.
And we are glad to have you here on Icons Behind Brand, Sudipto. And we are eager to know about your journey and background and about the whole concept of Cxsphere, how it has come. So tell us more about your journey and background.
So I started in the engineering fields. I am basically a civil engineer who started over there, but soon realized that there are bigger opportunities in the information technology field. I, in the interim, did an MBA, shifted to the IT world, and also over the years did an executive leadership program from INSEAD. In the process, I worked more than a decade in the corporate jobs, and finally decided that to start off on my own. So that's how Cxsphere started. I'm a first generation entrepreneur, come from a family of academics. So the first few months, it was primarily focused on making my family convinced that entrepreneurial journey is the way for me. and here I am running Cxsphere for the last 2 years.
Amazing to know, and I resonate very well with that, Sudipto. Being me, a first generation entrepreneur from the family, and convincing the family of where everybody is they're working well in their organization, that itself is a tedious job. But overcoming that and establish yourself in a certain space, it needs a courage. It's not it's not easy enough. So I could resonate very well with that. So how does the idea of starting up your own organization that has striked up to you, Sudipta?
So I spent years running global teams on analytics and online commerce side of things, both from a tech side and a business side, both with services organizations and global market leaders across the globe. During the process, what I realized is one is the advent of these new technologies like AI and the overall direction where the world of commerce is moving. There's a significant amount of opportunity. The world of commerce essentially is and increasingly being run by the information driving that commerce. It's no longer the physical goods and services. It's the information which is running it end to end, right from the pre-setting process to the post-sale customer support. And the way the information is being collected, the way it is being used for personalization to finally making it, I would say, having an equivalent incentivization to share and use the information across this ecosystem requires a fundamental rethinking. People were collecting information via cookies, grabbing screenshots of people's mobile screens, using the information as a third-party data and all of that cannot sustain for long, right? You are asking people to share something which is very personal to them.
That's right.
And then using that beyond what you asked that permission for. Or in some of the cases, you haven't even asked permission for usage of that information. So then came the idea of Cxsphere. What we are building is we are building what we call the first full consent commerce and engagement ecosystem.
Okay.
Explicit consent from consumers for their data, which you are typically calling the zero-party data, where consumers by purpose and by intent share information, and then use artificial intelligence to give better insight. But the AI in this case is very ethical, because consumers have actually given you the consent to use that information for the purposes of AI and other behavioral drivers. And finally, using it against the full set of commerce and engagement systems. Okay. So that's what Cxsphere stands for, is a first full consent commerce ecosystem.
Okay.
And we have built proprietary technologies right from sourcing of the information to the usage of the information, and making it very seamless along the process.
Right.
So we have been using this. We started the journey by first reaching out to brands and helping them understand consumer behavior better. Obviously, COVID came in and forced the brands to do that further. The way to engage with consumers earlier, when you could do it face to face, you could still use a lot of human intuition. The moment your human interaction moves beyond face to face to an, I would say, faceless online behavior, then you need to bring in that personalization by better understanding the data.
Right.
And that is where we started helping brands. And then bring them directly in touch with their consumers, so that the consumers can share explicit consent-driven data to drive that full commerce. And that's what is the crux of Cxsphere.
Okay. So, Sudipta, for the viewers' benefit, if you could explain what is a full consent-driven ecosystem?
So, in the full consent-driven ecosystem, you see, if you look at how today's commerce information is collected through the cookies, you essentially sign a privacy policy, which most of us have no clue of what we are signing.
Yeah.
Just say, I accept. In a full consent-driven ecosystem, your brands explicitly mention why they would use the information and where, how long they would use the information, why they would use the information, and where they would be used. The purpose, the timing, and the overall rationale for using that information is shared with the consumers. And consumers have a complete control of saying, I will give it for this cause, but I will not. Okay. I might say that I can give it for educational purposes, but I wouldn't give it for something which I'm not in line with my value systems. So I can do that. The second thing is, if you look at what is happening today, is when the information of individuals are being used, these digital rights are being used without giving back any direct monetization benefit to the consumer. In our system, we have an ability to directly monetize the information. So I can monetize my information without having somebody else monetize it. So I'm paid directly by the brands for my information. Very similar to what used to happen in the world of surveys. However, the difference with surveys is surveys are anonymous in nature. In our case, the brands exactly know whose information is being shared. The second is I get paid directly. And the third is it is my actual digital footprints which are being monetized. So it's no longer stated behavior as you have done in service. And then this information gets used for, you can say that, please use my information for reaching out to me when you have a new product launch. I can define that. I can say that reach me out only when there is something on education.
Okay.
So I can define the causes and I can agree to specific causes where my information can be shared and used.
Right. So what were the major roadblocks you have faced during the time, Sudipta, in that?
There are building a startup has its own set of challenges anyway. We obviously had that. One interesting thing which happened to us was we literally started building the traction when COVID was in full flow.
Okay.
We started Cxsphere in mid 2019.
Okay.
Came out with our first version of the product in early 2020, and then COVID stuck.
Yes.
So we had to completely rethink about our go-to-market strategy, right from industries which we will target to our pricing strategy, to our way we will sell. We started focusing on, we quickly shifted to non-physical industries, industries which did not have a physical supply chain, for example, where they were not shut down. We looked at pricing differently, where we said that we will repurpose a client's existing budgets to our own systems, and a few others down the line, so that we were not stuck. And that helped us grow and survive. Apart from that, the other thing which we did was very, I would say, counterintuitive, is for a young startup of our size and age, we decided to be global.
Okay.
We said that a tech industry, either you expand fast or you have a slow death. We are a tech product, so let's try doing an internationalization very early on. So our first 3 customers came from 3 different countries, which is very, very different from how most SaaS startups start. They start in one country, make their presence felt in that, and then move multi-geo. So we started with a multi-geo approach. Slightly more difficult, slightly more stretch on the management bandwidth, but fortunately we had a team who had seasoned professionals from day one. We had an amazing team of multiple people who had that expertise of building global businesses, so we could do that. So these were the 2 top challenges which the rest were very standard of startups, getting rid of some of the technological challenges of building an innovative product, and going out and making partnerships and connecting with experts in your fields, which I think every startup goes through. In our case, the steering the company through the COVID situation from day one and going international were 2. I think in hindsight, this going international strategy actually helped us de-risk a bit, because country after country were going through COVID and going through a complete lockdown. The fact that we made ourselves ready to sell across different countries kept us going. So when one country did a slightly more stringent lockdown, we looked at other countries.
Okay. So the flexibility and agility has helped you here. I'm
Absolutely.
stuck in one policy and one solution. So as it's a fact, as we are moving towards a cookieless future now, so what do marketers do now with their highly tuned growth engines, which has, which they have built on the consumer's data and cookies? And before you start, I want you to, just explain a bit about what is cookieless future, just for the benefit of the viewers.
Let me give a little bit of background of why this cookieless element is coming into. I think what is happening is there's a lot of regulatory pressure on how the information is being collected.
Right.
There are informations about use of personal information which is coming up in every country. In the next few years, and I was reading a report from Gartner that right from a current usage of 10% of personal information currently fall under a regulatory ambit, and this will, in the next couple of years, move to 65%. So there is a significant pressure from regulators on the world of tech to stop misusing personal information.
Okay.
That's the first thing. This also has in the background demand for people who are increasingly becoming aware of how much of their information is out there and how it is being used. These two are driving what you call the cookieless world. Apple has already stopped doing some of the third-party cookies in iOS 14.
Right.
Google has been looking at a sandbox approach, which they haven't yet finalized how to go about it.
Right.
But the stoppage of third-party cookies and the way it was being collected is coming. Now let's look at what can marketeers do in this situation and what it means to have this cookieless world. One of the biggest fears of marketeers when cookies stop is if people's behavior collection stops, how would you still personalize your offerings?
Right.
That's the biggest fear. Where do the personalization come from?
Right.
And consumers, while at the same time asking to stop backdoor collection of information through cookies, are also asking for personalization. They're got used to, or they're aware that personalization is a good thing for them. Now, this brings in what you call the concept of zero-party data.
Right.
Where consumers, instead of their information being collected from the back, they intentionally give information. They say that you can use my information for this purpose. Now, where this up to this, it is perfectly fine from a conceptual point of view, but the question is, how can you scale this approach?
Right.
You cannot be asking consumers every day what information, and means you can still ask through micro questions and surveys and all of that, but that's a very, I would say, fragmented process. You are constantly interrupting the commerce flow to ask that question. Right. And this is where we built a proprietary technology to collect people's information by consent without the cookies. The technology which we have also allows brands to clean up their existing third-party collected data with us by asking consumers directly, can they use that? Give it to us and ask the consumers directly if they can use that. And this is, there are a few other things which needs to be done around this. Consumers just don't give you if you ask. So there are incentivizations which needs to be built in the process. There are seamless usage of that information which needs to be built in the process. All of that has been built by us. And this is where we believe that we will probably be the first full commerce ecosystem with the cookieless data or the zero party data, because of the way we have built technologies around sourcing, analyzing, and usage of the data for commerce is something very unique.
Right. So now, I mean, the consumers are also smart. They know that their data is getting collected through various ways, right? And most of the consumers, they are increasingly uncomfortable with the data collection as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are concerned about data breaching and their privacy and all this. So the same. How does marketers move forward? What's
The first thing is the first thing is trust. Marketers need to relook at their own systems and processes to understand how they can build that trust with consumers. We need to ask ourselves, why will a consumer share their information with us? That's the first primary question. See, if a human to human interaction happens with consent and trust, why should a brand to consumer interaction be different? We don't do if I have to speak to you or you have to speak to someone else, you first need a consent to speak or consent to engage. That's how it always happens in the human to human interaction world.
Right.
From a commerce to interaction, commerce to individual world, a similar need exists. Collecting people's information from the back, forcing them with mass push of information and reach outs is not how it should happen. And that's the first step to build a trust. The second step to build the trust is share your benefits. When you share pick up information from consumers, pick up their behavioral insights, show them how explicitly you can benefit them by incentivizing them monetarily, by putting the data to good use for right kind of engagement. That is something which individuals will share your information for. And this requires change in tech systems, this requires change in some of the internal thought processes as well of how things to be done. Right now, the way it happens is you collect the information and you start pushing it for revenue growth. Now, the revenue growth is still fundamental, and we in our systems help brands do that. But before we even do that, we help them engage directly with the consumers, ask for consent, build the trust, and the tech allows to do that at scale. I think that's what marketers should look at. Look at how do you build trust and how do you build that entire incentivization mechanism for individuals to share and engage with you more directly.
So I think the rules are same when a human is another human or technology is talking to the human. No matter what it is, rules are same. Trust is the major thing for which somebody is going to share their information to any company or any individual and share benefits. I mean, a very precise and to the point solution from you, Sudipta. So thanks for bringing this here. And this is a gap which you need to, you need to bridge the gap here, a proper solution, right?
Yeah. It needs a rethinking in terms of how I will essentially build the trust and collect the information, and how I will use it. And it has to be seamless in terms of the overall user experience. So if that
Mhm.
can be done, then the growth engines would continue running.
Oh, right, right. So basic has to be there. You
Yeah,
cannot avoid the basics here.
yeah, absolutely.
What are the unexpected trends you have noticed that has emerged during the pandemic time, Sudipta, in your segment?
I think one of the key things, and it's good for us, is when pandemic happened, people realized that the traditional ways of selling and servicing customers are no longer feasible, because
Mhm.
your stores are shut, uh, your reach outs are sort of obstructed, because you cannot reach out customers directly physically. The reliance on data and digital platforms became very high. That's the unexpected behavior which happened. Some of
Mhm.
the changes which could have happened in multiple years happened in months.
Mhm.
So that was the uh, unexpected but good behavior which happened during the pandemic. Obviously, there were brands were facing budgetary challenges because, but I think that's not the bigger thing. The mindset changed. That yes, you could still sell and reach out to consumers, uh, irrespective of their location, and do business digitally. And this happened across all sorts of businesses: B2C, B2B, B2B, B2C. Everywhere similar thought processes emerged out.
Nice. Super. So you have customers from various spectrums, Sudipto. So where do you
Right.
see the maximum growth coming in?
I think there are two broad areas where we would see growth coming up. One is the non-traditional or upcoming industries. So for example, gaming. That's
Okay.
an area where we would see growth. We're already seeing signals of that. The second is distribution-led businesses who traditionally had lesser access to direct consumer behavior.
Mhm.
That's another area where we see growth, because our systems allow them to access that direct consumer behavior.
So, how can a market leader work on optimizing their operating cost? It's one of the crucial point for a marketer.
See, the operating cost for with SaaS platforms coming in way, you no longer have to build everything in house. You can distribute your uh, tech cost across number of businesses. That's one of the key things which can happen, because a significant part of marketing's cost is also marketing tech platforms cost. The second element is a lot of cost today goes into advertisement.
Hmm.
Now, with a, I would say, with an unclear understanding of the ROI. The ROI is not always under control and not always manageable.
Mhm.
So if you build things with better precision targeting, which we are calling in our case the contextual AI, and are able to know why you are targeting whom, so there are scoring models and propensity models available which will exactly tell you who you are targeting and what ROI can come out of it. Then you spread your bets much more wisely.
Think.
I think this too will actually help marketeers bring down cost, because for them the two fundamental costs are the advertisement cost, and the second is that tech platform cost.
So here, defining your ROI through the use of technology, which is a very important.
Defining your ROI and tightening your TG, your target group, is through very, we call it the segment of one. So if you can really do that, and that can only be done through adequate use of tech, then marketing costs would come down.
That's a very crucial point. Tightening your TG, defining your ROI with the help of proper technology and tools. So here I see an identification of proper technology and tools is a very, very
absolutely important,
crucial part of any marketing team here.
If you look at what is happening with the marketing world so far, is there are 8,000 plus marketing technology companies. While and when this happens, there is always a need for integration. I think that is why we think that a complete marketing and commerce ecosystem end to end would actually help marketers, because otherwise they spend a lot of time in integration, they spend a lot of time in choosing or defining what to choose. That is a significant time. And then the other element is when they do the actual reach out, how do they get their metrics better? Even if they stick to the same cost, they need a better ROI. I think the question of bringing down operational costs is essentially linked to the ROI.
So the clarity is very important here.
Yeah.
So with that, Sudipta, we are moving to an interesting section, which is a rapid fire round. So in this section, you need to answer either in one or as minimum as possible. Yeah. Okay. So tell me something about yourself which nobody knows about you.
First generation entrepreneur from a family of academics, which I just mentioned. This had me look through my own set of mental blocks before I could start this journey.
Amazing. So describe yourself in 3 words.
So I'm extremely optimistic.
So if you could go to anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Mountains. I love mountains.
What is your favorite hobby?
I play chess a lot.
Super. What is that one thing that annoys you the most?
So I dislike insincerity.
What is that one thing every online brand should do?
Build trust with consumers.
So a book or podcast you would like to recommend the marketers?
I would want to recommend Blue Ocean Strategy by W. King.
Okay. Nice. So with that, Sudipta, we are out of the rapid fire round. What is your message to the aspiring brand managers, business owners, technical startup owners?
When you start, the reason why somebody would buy your product above the more established products is if you are different. So differentiate with intent. Have a clear intent on the differentiation, so that your product offering stands out. There is always this concept of are you better 10x, but the differentiation has to be with specific intent. That's the first piece. The second is doing the differentiation is not enough. You have to create micro segments of your consumers and personalize. If you can do that, that's a good way of being specific to your specific customer groups. And as a part of the process of personalizing your services, we are creating small micro influence points so that the customer touch points actually convert. And the third piece is what is extremely important, and you only experience it when you really run a startup, is refine, and refine. You are never going to be first time correct, irrespective of whatever people tell you. You will only know how good you are, or what all additional things need to be refined once you hit the market. So continue, be consciously refining your product market fit. So if you do these three broad things, I think then you'll find your path.
I think the greatest takeaway is refine, and refine, because refine your process, refine your product, refine your team, keep refining your target customers, and is the key mantra. I mean, you just cannot sit back and relax that, okay, this is my set.
No, you cannot.
Thank you for your time and sharing all your insights with us, Sudipta. And this is going to benefit a lot of viewers here. Viewers are from, B schools. They're from marketing fraternity, advertising, branding. They're from, the business community, startup owners, technology startup owners. So it is going to help all of them. Yeah. So thank you for your time, and it was incredible talking to you. A lot of, clarity I got. So yeah, I would looking forward to interact with you more in the future episodes as well, Sudipta.
Sure, Devleena. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak on this subject of interest. Thanks to you.